What's up, guys? Welcome back to the TCG Scrubs Teaching Week, and in this video we'll be going over the competitive season and kind of how the season is structured. So the season as we see it here in Force of Will will start in September and ends in August. We'll kind of get this full year up here on the screen. Sorry, Colin. Over the course of a year we have the release of starter decks, sets, and anything special beyond that. We'll drop little images here on this calendar to kind of show where all the sets come out. So one kind of every 3 months. Starter sets kind of near the beginning of the year. They're separated by a week, but we'll get to that here in a second. Actually, we'll get to that right now. So this part of the year I find the most interesting to see what people on the local level of tournament play will create. So the rotation of the oldest set in play will generally take place roughly a week before the release of the new products for the year. The first product of the year being released is going to be the starter decks. So this part of the year I find the most interesting to see what people bring to local level tournaments, and the reason why is because upon the release of the starter decks, it's going to be one cluster plus the starter decks to play with, because the oldest cluster would have just rotated out. So it's kind of a unique take, because the newer set that would be for that first cluster that's coming in right now won't come out for another week after the release of the starter deck. So it's kind of this, like I said, really unique environment of previous cluster plus starter decks. Now for competitive events, the World Grand Prix is held in September. It's kind of the ultimate best of the best around the world will go to kind of prove themselves even further. The company will celebrate the game in a cluster-only format. There's only been one other time that they experimented outside of that format, and we've quickly gone back to the cluster-only format. So for example, this year's WGP 2018 had the new Valhalla starter decks, as well as the first set New Dawn Rises. Some people have had issues with this format, seeing it's very limiting. Some argue that it's a great way to showcase which players are better based on what they can truly build out of this limited format. As I've already mentioned, there's only ever been one other time when the format was, to say, a New Frontiers format, and that was going to be last year's tournament. Players attending Worlds will receive gift bags the day before containing cool things like a name badge, a lanyard, towel. This year they received an art book, which many of them had artists that were present at the tournament to sign an autograph for them, as well as a playset of every card being used in the format that they're playing in for this event. Each of those cards stamped with the event title, so WGP 2018. We'll put an example card up here for a second. Pricing for Worlds is as follows. Every year is a little bit different. This is going to be the latest year that I have the information on. First through third receive a trophy, as well as a paid invite to the following year's World Grand Prix. Fourth through eighth will get a trophy and an unpaid invite for the following year's WGP. All of top 8 will receive 3 boxes of the new upcoming sets mailed on the day of release. So for example, they've already received the first set here at this event. So this new set, which is Strangers of New Valhalla, each of these people who were in top 8 will receive 3 boxes of that new set shipped to them on the day of release, while 9th through 16th place would get 1 box of each of the upcoming sets mailed on the day of release. So a side event was held on day 2 while top 8 was playing. This event was New Frontiers, and pricing was as follows. First place received a paid invite to the next WGP and 1 box of the latest set, as well as 2nd through 4th getting unpaid invites to next year's WGP. Now, players attending Worlds every year do so by invite only. Some players are paid, meaning your plane ticket to and from is paid for. Some invites are not paid, but allow you just to have the access to the tournament itself. But how do they receive these invites? Well, you do so by attending larger events known as Grand Prix. Now, just looking back at the actual calendar we had up a second ago, we see that Grand Prix in North America are generally announced right around December, and fire up anywhere between January and June. These events range across the US and parts of Canada. Based on attendance, usually will determine the number of allowed paid invites and unpaid invites. When asking Jeremy from Ruler School just to verify the information, he did say it is 1 paid invite and 2 unpaid invites for any GP. A GP is an event that is usually held in the New Frontiers format, held in convention centers, allowing large numbers of players to get together. Some previous GPs have been held in alternate formats such as Sealed, which actually received a lot of backlash, and they backpedaled a bit, changing up the remainder of that season, removing some of their Sealed events. I doubt they'll do more Sealed events going forward, and as well as some Wanderer events, which was something new this past season, but players request often, so I think that we should see a Wanderer event going forward. So for those of you who strictly play Wanderer, something to look forward to, especially with our global liaison Jeff being on top of the ban list for both formats, ensuring to keep the game as balanced as he can possibly keep it. Events will range in rounds played based on attendance. I think a good average of number of rounds, right around 7 rounds for the day. By the end of the day, the top 8 is calculated and announced, allowing these players to return on day 2 to play until only one is left standing as a winner. Day 2 for other players is a great time to do other things, maybe catching up with some players you don't get to see often, doing some side events such as win a box, win a promo, epic stories, draft. Some events which have a vendor on day 2 might be your best chance to actually go and buy or sell some cards that they have or you want to get rid of. I do recommend always check beforehand if a vendor will be present, because it's not always guaranteed. So I'd hate for you to haul some cards out there that you planned on selling and nobody's there. Top 8 breakdown based on pricing is usually going to be first place gets a paid invite, second and third will get unpaid invites. If attendance grants additional pricing, then additional invites are handed out. On top of this, players in top 8 also receive special prize cards. These cards are rulers revolving around some specific release. For example, last season we had the starter deck rulers, unsealed versions, unfortunately. Typically these cards are metal and go for gold for first, silver second, and bronze for third, while the rest of top 8 just gets acrylic versions. In the past 2017-18 season, instead of seeing these metal versions, they instead had to Uber gold versions of these cards. A quick note on the paid/unpaid invites pricing. These can be a little tricky to explain, but let's say in an event, someone with a paid invite already wins the GP. They don't get 2 paid invites. Instead, the invite system will trickle down. The players will receive their gold ruler card, keep the invite they already had, but now second place will receive a paid invite, third receives the unpaid, fourth receives an unpaid. Okay, so now in a new scenario of the same situation, a player who has an unpaid invite wins a GP. They can take the paid invite, and then at this point, the unpaid invites will trickle down. So second, third, and fourth will now receive unpaid invites for the WGP that season. Some people have kind of argued against the way that system works, but it's kind of just the way it is for now. Now we've kind of gone over the GP season, how that works, and how dates are announced. You will notice looking at the calendar, sorry Colin, we gotta come back to this calendar real quick. There is a big chunk of time at the start of the year where nothing happens. So you have the World Grand Prix, and then pretty much nothing until whenever the first GP of the pretty much that season's going to start, which is sometimes around January, even February. Now the company has made changes this year by saying there wouldn't be nearly as large of a downtime, and they have thrown in 2 WGBQs. Now, a WGBQ is a newer event that the company announced earlier this year in an article. This event is a smaller and designed to be run by local stores and contain paid and unpaid invites, as well as promo pricing that a standard GP would receive. The article explained this further can be found on the official website, just so you can really find out all the true details on it. They intend to have stores that record large turnouts to hold these events, along with the regular GP season. So far, this start of the season, we have had 2 that were announced. One held by store Games and Geek, which was a great turnout, great event, I hear. The next one will be held by company ARG, you may be familiar with them, during their Winter Nationals in December. Now, at the recording of this video, we have yet to see all the GP dates, so we will see what that offers, but now hopefully you will have a better understanding of how this year is structured for larger competitive events in North America. Other parts of the world will also have GP events of their own. Some even have smaller events hosted on a country-by-country basis. I know Italy runs master events, which often they'll play around with the formats, either be Cluster, New Frontiers, or Wanderer. In North America, again, we also have slightly smaller seasonal events, which are held again by that company ARG. They host store events called States, and these are packages they put together that will generally contain a specially created playmat for that event, giving mats for top 8, for a champion, as well as a judge. Any additional pricing at these events is usually held by the store itself, and that's generally based on attendance and number of players who are showing up. These are held, as I said, like seasonally, so we just finished fall states. Other ones we've had are like summer, winter, spring/Easter. These range in attendance, and I really do encourage those who haven't played in a states event to go try it out. You can actually get more information on when these states events or any other specialty events ARG holds on their website at argcircuitseries.com. One last tournament to actually mention for North America would be at Gen Con, which is right around June. At this event, Force of Will does show up to advertise the game, kind of do some demos with some people, and there's a tournament on one of these days. This tournament's first place prizing is an unpaid invite to the WGP as well. I believe this covers everything there is about the Force of Will competitive scene, and if you have any other questions, just ask in the comments below. And I'll see you guys in the next video.